Hi, I'm Alexa, and it's Wednesday. Today I am going to talk about menu planning because next week is Thanksgiving, and I am going to a friend's house almost certainly uh, on Thanksgiving, but we're going to do like an hors d'oeuvres kind of dinner, pick and choose. They are having a bigger meal, which I am also invited to, on Sunday for other family members, which will be their turkey day. Don't know if I'll go to that one. Um, Depends how I feel on the day. So, hors d'oeuvres. I love being able to go places and try lots of stuff. Don't really like going to, let's say, buffets necessarily. They're not always like the best food, at least the ones around here. Oh, there is this one restaurant that does like a Father's Day brunch or, Mother's Day brunch, or they do it on special occasions and it has prime rib and other stuff. It's a pretty penny for the it's not like a $10-15 meal or anything. It's substantial, but that one's really nice. Anyway, menu planning. So I don't know what to do. I have been asked to make some stuffed peppers. So I make these mini peppers stuffed with normally use a sausage and bacon mix, crumbles, and then cream cheese. You can just use sausage. And then a little onion powder, a little garlic powder, some shredded cheese of your choice. I like the cheddar to give it a little bit of a tang, extra sharp cheddar. And you just mix that all up, cut the peppers, and you can do the regular size. Regular size, it's probably a lot of cream cheese and stuffing if you make them that big. But if you get the mini peppers, they're a bit more bite size. So you have to cut them in half, scoop the seeds out, stuff them. You bake them for like, I want to say 25, maybe 30 minutes. You stuff them and then you put a little bit more of the cheddar cheese on the top, which that'll melt real nicely and make them look real good. So I've been asked to make those, so I probably will because they are delicious, but they're time consuming. So I don't make them very often for myself either. I was thinking about doing some little, like 1 or 2 bite pastries. So getting some puff pastry, and then several years ago, we're talking like a decade, 11, maybe 11 or 12 years ago. Um, yeah, like 11 years, maybe 12 years ago, I had these I was someone else's house. I had these little sort of pastry squares, and they had this goat cheese and caramelized onion on top of it, and I've been trying to recreate this. And I tried last year, but what happened is the goat cheese and the onion got dried out as the pastry baked, so I was like, "Well, that doesn't really work." So this year I might try again and make it a filling and fold the pastry over so that that doesn't dry out. We'll see. I don't know. There's other stuff you can make in pastry. You could make, I'm English, I love a sausage roll. So I do know how to make like a sausage filling, ground pork, some onion, some sage, a couple salt, pepper, maybe some other spices. And then you put that in the pastry. That's always delicious. You can make those bite sized. I do a really good job at like dessert things as well, but I don't know what I would want to make. Making stuff from scratch is a lot of work. I don't really mind that. I don't like washing dishes. Like, I really don't like washing dishes. So that always makes me not want to cook simply because then I have to clean up after myself. So yeah, I don't know what else. I have like a bunch of different ideas. My friend and I were talking about it. We were talking about um little smokies wrapped in bacon, and then I think you put them in barbecue sauce. That I was thinking the past couple days, oh my gosh, sweet potato fries sounds like the most delicious thing I can think of right now. I don't no idea why. They're not something I normally eat, but been on my mind for a few days. So, I mean, I could buy a sweet potato and just make some of those. Some of my favorite recipes are really classic English things. So I do love a good roast dinner. Um, any meat, Sunday roast. Leg of lamb is always quite special. You have it with proper mint sauce from England. And roasties, which is roasted potatoes, carrots and turnips. You put roughly equal amounts of chopped up carrots and turnip in a pot, boil it all up, and then once they're soft, you sort of mash them together a little bit more. Yorkshire puddings, they're savory. It's almost like a pancake mix, but it's not quite the same. The closest thing over here is a popover. US is a popover, very similar. So gravy, proper gravy. I am a proper English girl with my Bisto gravy in granules. Use those. I know how to make a gravy from scratch, but it's Bisto is fine. Their chip shop curry is good too. But one of the few things I have several things that people have really loved over the years. Cream puffs is one, and those are the trick is to get the pâte choux properly made. And you will know before you even get to putting the eggs in it whether you have or not. So you have to heat up water and butter, and then you put your flour into that boiling liquid. If that doesn't become basically a solid mass as the flour just blooms in the water, it's not it's not going to hold up well enough as you cook it. That's at least my experience, what I found. I also keep my all of my anything with flour in it, so flour, uh, any type of pasta. I put rice in the fridge. I put it all in the fridge because I don't like the idea of bugs in my pantry, and I know that if you keep it at a certain cold temperature, they're not able to. Side note, if you bring stuff home and you put it in a bag, put it in your freezer for 3 days, it should kill anything that's in it, weevils, whatever. So I do that with my stuff. But if you use your flour straight from the fridge, if you keep it in your fridge and it's really cold, it's not going to work properly with the boiling water. I've done that maybe once, possibly twice, and could have kicked myself and was like, well, that makes a whole lot of sense. Pâte choux, they're super easy to make, in my opinion, as long as your flour is not straight out of the fridge cold and the room is not. I've also noticed that if it's really, I want to say super humid, it doesn't seem to work well either. There's got to be something to do with the air pressure and the temperature of the water when it boils. I'm guessing physics. Physics. Um, but yeah, those are pretty good, but also time consuming and messy to make when you're filling them with cream or if you prefer custard to make more of an eclair. Then I've made we'd call them pound cakes, I guess, over here. Pretty good at those. Pretty good at all sorts of cakes. Pretty good at all sorts of deliciousness. There's this stuff I've made before. It's it's like an almond bar, and you use almond flour and almond butter and almond extract, and you make this sort of cookie-like consistency underneath, and then you top it with chocolate. Oh, those are really good. Extremely rich, so you can't have too many of them. This is just me talking about some of my favorite recipes. Love over the years to have cooked. One of the easiest ones you can ever make is a crock pot cake. And what you do is you get a big packet of uh, cook and serve pudding. So chocolate pudding, you need the big one. You're not just so it's like 3 cups of milk, I think you add, not the regular smaller box, which is 2 cups of milk. So you need the big one, and it's got to be the cook and serve. So you mix that up, but you don't cook it. You just mix it up. You put that in the bottom of your crock pot. Then you take a jar of chocolate fudge frosting, and you literally just sort of like scoop out little bits and place it all over the bottom in this pudding mixture. And then you mix up a box mix, devil's food, chocolate fudge, whatever cake you want, and you pour that over the top of these mixtures. Be careful not to like dump it so that it goes down and the pudding comes up the sides, but like kind of gently put it all over the place. You put that on normally on high for like 3-4 hours, I think it is, and it'll look like it's not coming together. The top will look super wet. You'll be like, oh, this isn't working, this isn't working, and then within the last half an hour the top dries out and you'll be like, oh wow, it is the most fudgy, like chocolate lava cake type thing you've ever had. Absolutely delicious. The first time I ever made a recipe in my of crockpot cake, it didn't have the frosting component, and I remember my review of it as I was sort of talking to other people about it was like, it's missing something. It's not. You need to put something else in there to make the frosting kind of thing at the end. And then I found I was given the recipe from a family member, and it had the frosting, and I was like, this is exactly what it was missing. I should have thought of this myself. Like, it's missing that extra little frostingy thing. Why not use frosting? So yeah, that one's a really good one. Um, Pork pies are so delicious, and I can make some mini ones, but again, it's so time consuming to make the pastry and to make the filling. Oh, but they're so good. Fresh homemade pork pies. I made some the last time my dad visited, or maybe a couple times before, because he came with my sister, didn't he? Anyway, I made some, and he first tried one, and he was like, "Oh, it's not quite right," and we had them, like, fresh out of the oven, and then the next day, he had one that was cold, and all the flavors had come together better, and he hasn't kinda stopped talking about them since. He'll like, "Oh, those pies were so good," which is very nice to hear. 'Cause he is a pie connoisseur, and, if they weren't good, he would absolutely tell me if I did a bad job. He kinda did when we ate them fresh out of the oven, so I was like, "Well, they are still hot, like, you don't taste everything when it's too hot sometimes." Yeah, and then I was thinking I could get I do like turkey. I like leftover turkey, right? And then you get some nice fresh bread. Oh, I need to start fresh no-knead bread. This is the easiest thing. You can look it up. Just search. I might have actually linked this before, but it's on King Arthur flour. It's no-knead bread. I'll put it in the description. I'll go find the link for you and put it there. You just mix the yeast, the water, salt, and the flour, and then you let it rise for like 2 days in the fridge or whatever. I think you leave it on the counter overnight and then you put it in the fridge for another day or so. Um, and then when you need it, you just take out as much of the dough as you want, and literally you just shape it. You don't need it at all. Super easy. Depending on how you decide to cook it, you can end up with a softer crust or a crunchier crust. I like to use my cast iron uh, cooking pot, and then I put a piece of parchment, I put the dough in, and I put the lid on. It helps keep some of the air in, but it does make a crust on a crunchier crust, a crunchier crust on the bottom. Um, so I'll put that recipe down below. What are your favorite recipes? Is there something that you have that is like one or like you can make them in bite-sized things, put them out at a party, people enjoy, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Um, Let me know in the comments, and if there's one I think sounds good, I might try it for next week or just whenever because I like to try new things. This was a a random video today, but yeah, I was going to say I might buy myself just frozen turkey breasts on the bone. I don't need the wings or the thighs, just get a small one. I might bake that for myself if I don't go to the Sunday meal. Um, yeah, there'll be more people there, and I might be peopled out. So we'll see. But if I don't, I might just buy one for myself and cook it, and then my cats and I can have some turkey because they do love some fresh turkey as well. That's all I got for you today. Whatever you decide to do next week, if you're cooking, if you are not cooking, if you're ordering in, because Lord knows ordering in is always good too. I hope you have fun and you hope you enjoy the food and hopefully the people you're with, you enjoy the company. And I will be back on Saturday, so I'll probably, and again next Wednesday. But I figured this was what's on my mind tonight, trying to figure out what I want to cook so that I can shop properly, appropriately this weekend. Um, some of the ingredients I'll need for like the stuffed peppers, I actually have to drive to a bigger city because the stores in town don't sell what I need. So gonna have to go down to the biggest city nearby. It's about an hour away, so I have to make a list. That's why it's on my mind. Anyway, if you made it this far, thank you. This was super random and rambling. Um, I could probably sit and talk about food quite a lot. Uh, yeah, I will see you on Saturday. As always, be kind to yourself.